enormous tray stacked with peanut butter cookies and lemon bars. Her white chef's hat bobbed atop her head as she hefted the tray and gazed out over the buzzing crowd. "Can you believe how hungry these men are?" she asked. "Our first 2 trays of desserts disappeared in something like 3 seconds flat. They didn't even bother to chew, they just, gunk, swallowed everything whole, like crocodiles. Really hungry, I guess." "And for more than just food?" Suzanne observed. She'd seen flickers of interest in the eyes of quite a few men, who ranged in age from 40-ish all the way up to Methuselah. "Typical," snorted Toni, coming up to grab the tray from Petra. "All men are hot to trot, aren't they?" Toni had a chip on her shoulder the size of Rhode Island, thanks to her on-again, off-again marriage to Junior Garrett, an overage juvenile delinquent who was known for his roving eye, especially when it came to floozy female bartenders with tight Angora sweaters and hot pink extensions clipped into their hair. "Still," said Petra, "this was a grand idea." She nudged Suzanne. "You see Mrs. Moxley over there?" They all turned to gaze at a cheerful-looking woman with a head of white hair who was talking animatedly to a red-faced farmer in overalls. "She probably hasn't had a date since her husband died some 20 years ago." "It's not really a date," Toni pointed out. "More like a mixer." "Even so," said Petra, a faint smile playing on her lips. "It's nice and sociable." Petra, as head baker and chef at the Cackleberry Club, was the 3rd partner in the troika. Big-boned and big-hearted, she had a clean, square-jawed face with shining brown eyes. Today, the green ivy print apron she wore over her chef's jacket matched the bright green Crocs she wore on her size 10 feet. Petra, too, had lost her husband, only in a different but just as heartbreaking way. Donnie suffered from Alzheimer's and now resided in the city center nursing home. Though Petra visited him constantly, Donnie was rarely responsive. "You going to pass out those bars?" Suzanne asked Toni. "Yup," replied Toni. "Then I'm going to blow my whistle and move 'em on again." "Excellent," said Suzanne, grabbing a lemon bar dusted with powdered sugar as Toni moved off. "Those are for our guests," Petra said, scolding. "Can't help it. They're so good." Suzanne laughed. "Well, in that case," said Petra. Suzanne and Petra grabbed steaming pots of coffee and Darjeeling tea and wound their way through the tables, pouring refills and doing their fair share of eavesdropping. "This really is a success," said Petra when they met back behind the counter. Then she made a tiny grimace. "I just hope our Quilt Trail is this popular." "Are you kidding?" said Suzanne, ever the civic booster. "You've been working with the Historical Society, planning it for months. It's going to be like gangbusters." The Quilt Trail was a special event Petra had talked the Logan County Historical Society into sponsoring, and it kicked off tomorrow. Giant quilt squares, painted on blocks of wood, had been hung on the county's historical homes, barns, historic sites, farmers' markets, and quaint country restaurants. Self-guided maps had been readied to lead tour-goers to these special sites via a meandering route through the most picturesque and remote parts of the county. "Still," said Petra as she measured Kona coffee into the coffee maker, "I always—" "Are you insane?" came the sudden burst of a woman's shrill voice. It rose above the normal buzz and clatter, instantly causing heads to turn. Petra frowned and glanced over. "Jane?" she murmured. Jane Buckley was one of her best friends, and right now Jane Buckley was beaucoup angry over something. "You're the one who's crazy," a male voice shouted back, matching and even exceeding Jane in volume. You could have heard a pin drop in the Cackleberry Club. Then chairs scraped and necks craned as everyone tried to see what Jane Buckley and Chuck Peebler were shouting about. "If I find out that you—" Chuck Peebler raged again, only to